One, two. Testing. Good morning. My name is Linda DeVlake-Hillman, and I'm the president and a professional member of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission. The meeting of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission is hereby called to order. It is 9:01 a.m. on November 18th, 2024. Mr. Bryant, will you please call the roll? Here. Here.
Here.
Here. Also joining and participating in this meeting is Assistant Attorney General Blaine Moffett with the New Mexico Department of Justice, as well as BCD staff members, Team Manager Jared Bryant, Education Administrator Scott Latham, Compliance and Investigations Team Manager Kathleen Roybal, Investigator Vicky DeGarro, Boards and Commissions Director Melissa Salazar, and Chief General Counsel Kevin Graham. Today's public meeting is conducted pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Sections 10, 15, 1 to 4. Commissioners, staff, and members of the public are joining us in person at the Greater Albuquerque Association of Realtors in Albuquerque, New Mexico. There is also a live broadcast of the meeting. Individuals wishing to provide public comment virtually were required to submit a written request to the commission email by Friday, November 15th, 2024, or attend in person. We have established special protocol for member and public participation in this meeting, which I will now read. As a courtesy to our members and others listening, all participants all members of the board must identify themselves whenever they speak and must be clearly audible to the other members of the board and the public. Members should avoid speaking over one another as much as possible. All votes of the board during this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Additionally, the chair will suspend the meeting if a disruption in the audio or video occurs. The public portions of today's meeting will be recorded. The closed session portions are not public and will not be recorded or viewable by any attendees. Items discussed in the closed session may be voted upon in the general session when the session resumes. Continuing education is granted only for the public portions. When the commission moves into closed session, the public meeting line will remain open and all attendees will remain muted. Attendees may remain in the public meeting during closed session. Commissioners will return to the public meeting once the closed session is complete. The mission of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission is to protect the public and enhance the professional competence of real estate brokers. The New Mexico Real Estate Commission was created by state law in 1959 and charged with enforcing the real estate license law and the Real Estate Commission rules. We will now move to approve of the agenda. I have reviewed the agenda and moved to approve the agenda as written or amended.
Second.
Mr. Bryant, will you please call the roll? Yes.
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 We will now move to the approval of minutes. In your electronic binder is the draft of the September 16th, 2024 commission meeting minutes. I heard you've reviewed the minutes and moved that they be approved. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bryant, will you please call the roll? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I don't think I received a copy of those. I didn't have it in my email. Mm-mm. So I guess I'll abstain.
Yes.
We will now move to reports. Report. Sorry, my printer didn't do it in the order that I thought. Dear commissioners and attendees, one of my goals has been to re-implement the NMRC manual. And Ms. McGeth, while she was there, worked diligently to get that done. I would like to propose we re-implement it as being in compliance with Rule 1661, 16.9, which does require that a copy of that manual be provided in electronic format to qualifying brokers. So that's going to be one of my missions to get done. I have been meeting with RLD leadership, with Mr. Kevin Graham and Director Salazar to review procedures and policies being implemented by RLD. One of those discussions, which we have all been aware of, is the ongoing lack of investigators and the concern over new investigators not having industry-specific knowledge or training. My idea is that we could possibly have new investigators who don't have any real estate specific knowledge take advantage of this institution that we're sitting in and maybe get some training from GAR. I'm sure the association would like to have trained investigators, so maybe that's a new proposal for the future. The other discussion was the one-call appointment system, which I've personally experienced in various ways. Not been happy with it myself. It's, if anybody's ever called Xfinity to try and talk about their account, you'll understand what that feels like. So I think that's an ongoing topic to discuss, whether that really does serve the public and licensees to get anything done. I understand efficiency and I understand simplification, but that doesn't always produce the best results for the users. These conversations are ongoing, and I'm going to continue to advocate for improvements that directly impact our commission's effectiveness. Rules changes and the executive secretary transition has put a little bit of a pause on getting that done. Ms. McGeth and I were working, and Alina Katanak were working together to get a lot of these rules changes are administrative, clerical, things that aren't that difficult. We just had to cross-reference back whether this was an update from an antiquated rule or a clerical problem, comparisons. So we've got a lot of that done. but now this is going to be a little bit of a pause until we get the next report onto who's going to do that with us. That executive secretary position is very crucial to the commission's operations. I encourage anyone with questions or concerns to reach out to any of the commissioners. You've probably noticed that on the website, nobody knows who we are, what our position is, or how to get a hold of us. Google is sometimes friendly for that, but not always. There might be more than one Matthew Smith in New Mexico, so I would encourage you, if you're ever curious, walk up to us and say, what's your business card? Because I personally am happy to answer questions regarding commission work, what we do, point you to the idea of where a certain rule or a statute might be found. Otherwise, how do you know how to follow the rules or the statutes? Difficult now to do that without the manual, again, because I thought the manual was a really good way for the layman. And by layman, I mean anybody but an attorney. No offense here, Blaine, but to find a statute and how to interpret it in common sense language. So I would invite you, until we can get that changed on the website. I don't mind my contact information being out there. Just walk up and ask us. You can find us. And thank you for everybody. Whenever the public does contribute their opinions, whether positive or negative, it is helpful to us to know if we're doing what's expected of us. I look forward to discussing these updates in the future. That's my update. Mr. Bryant, do you have your report? No. Okay, thank you. Mr. Latham, do you have the EAC report?
Currently, the only thing I have to report is that the EAC has gotten together and we are trying to fill the 4 vacant positions on the EAC. Anybody is aware of anybody that may be interested in being a part of that, please have them email me and I can get them further information.
What vacancies are those?
We've just got 4 at-large vacancies.
Okay,
We would like to try to pull some people in from some of the outliers instead of just all Albuquerque. Maybe getting some people from up north. We've got a couple from down south, but would always welcome some more voices from there. And currently we've got 3 instructors on the EAC, or 4. And we would like to kind of hold it at that and have non-instructors that would apply, but we will certainly accept all resumes.
and it's my understanding that those meetings are all virtual.
Currently they are. We've had 1 hybrid and may do more hybrid in the future, but most of that's based on whether some of these approved courses will be taught live. We feel that those individuals should present live for those
Okay.
courses.
All right, thank you for clarifying that.
And then we just would like to put up the October 9th minutes and the November 6th minutes for approval.
I have reviewed the October 9th, 2024 and November 6th, 2024 EAC meeting minutes and want to be sure all the commissioners have read and agree with the existing rule that instructor and course recertification is approved by the EAC. With this, I said, I move that they be approved as written. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bryant, will you please call the roll? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Rules Committee report, me again. As I stated in the president's update, we're kind of at a stalled point right now, but we do have a lot of material to go over. I did find one additional person that can help out with some of the, it's a Realtor member that's going to help us with reviewing the things that we've been going through, the crosshatches, the changing of language, the spelling errors, all of that kind of stuff. So as soon as we have a plan in place, we'll start with the rule changes procedures. Investigators report, Ms. Roybal. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, very good. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners. My name is Kathleen Roybal.
Loud, like really loud.
Really, is that better? Okay. Today's report was provided within your packets, and it'll reflect that we currently have 146 open complaints. Today, 21 of those will be presented during executive session. The only other thing that I have to report is I would like to introduce Mr. Andrew Hohola, who is our new compliance supervisor. And I believe this topic is on the agenda for a little bit later.
All right,
I
thank
have to
you.
report.
How do you spell your last name? Okay, thank you.
Can I get a copy of the investigative report? I didn't get it back, I guess.
We will now move to public comment. The commission will now take public comments from attendees present in the meeting that would like to address the commission and those who have submitted a request to provide public comment. Mr. Bryant, do we have any public comment? Looks like we do.
Light shows green. Can everybody hear me?
A little louder.
Okay. Thank you, commissioners. Bill McCoy, longtime real estate broker, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm glad to see that Commissioner DeVlieg Kilman is continuing to pursue the rules changes. If we wait long enough, technology will have indicated the work we've already done is old and tired. I am a constituent of the New Mexico Real Estate Commission via 3 different types of licenses issued by the Real Estate Commission, and am eternally frustrated that in order to speak to anybody on the Real Estate Commission staff, I must call Santa Fe and make an appointment to do so. That is perhaps an efficiency for a government agency. It's not an efficiency for a self-employed individual. So no, thank you for that. And I certainly hope investigators are hired and trained appropriately, and will suggest if there is a rub in this commission that the director of RLD, who has so eloquently stated on the TV news that he's prepared to ask for $2 million for additional cannabis investigators, because there are 10,000 cannabis licensees. I hope somebody lets them know that there are 10,000 real estate licensees. in the state of New Mexico. And I, for one, am not feeling any love or respect from RLD as a constituent. So please do the work. It's already there. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. Do we have anybody else? Nobody online submitted request? Thank you. I should have said y'all have 10 minutes to talk.
Have that. I don't need. Represent over 4,000 licensees. I also do professional standards for the state of New Mexico. So I have about almost 7,000 licensees that under my purview. Something came to my attention recently, and when Bill was speaking on that, it's like, I feel like I need to say something about this. It's a concern for not only our organization and the enforcement of the code of ethics that we handle, and of course, what you all do as RLD for handling licensure regulatory law. So we have different buckets, but we also have a lot of overlap. So my experience over the years has been, I'll get a call from a consumer and they're like, oh, I talked to the state and they said, this is not a licensing, it's an ethics thing. So maybe we should talk to you. It works well. I've many, many times said the same thing in reverse. This is not a realtor ethics issue. Maybe you need to talk to RLD. Recently, last week, I had a consumer, a buyer call with a problem. And what we try to do through the realtor world is to troubleshoot and help people through their problems. And it might end up in a formal complaint of some kind. It might end up in formal mediation. But the whole idea is to get a resolution. This person, I was chatting with her and she shared, and this is what I wanted to share, it was shocking to me. She said, well, I did call the state as well. I said, oh, great. She goes, yeah, I talked to somebody, I don't know where. And of course, we know now everybody calls the Santa Fe number, and then you have to get an appointment to speak to somebody at the San Antonio office for the NMREC. I said, oh, okay. And she goes, it was really frustrating. They said, I can't have an appointment or talk to anybody until I file a complaint. Wow. You wondering why your numbers are going up on formal complaints? That could be why. So that consumer who had a question, a simple consumer question, had to file a formal complaint against a licensee to get an appointment to speak to somebody. So after she filed the complaint, she was able to call back and make an appointment to talk to somebody. Her intention was really never to file a formal complaint. Her intention was to ask some questions, which is what I end up having to handle. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm very clear about that. I don't give people legal information. I give them options of what might work. And again, our role and the role of the realtor world and the state have always been working together to the betterment of our public, to the consumer, to every buyer and seller. And every one of you in this room is a buyer or seller one time in your life. Because we got to remember, the preamble of the Code of Ethics for NAR starts out, under all is the land. This is why we're here. This is why this industry exists. I do hope that the state will consider these things and consider a way to have maybe allow consumers and the public, which is your mission to protect, have them some resources and to help our licensees throughout our state. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melody. Anybody else? 10 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Richard Kraft. I've been licensed for 47 years, worked for Coldwell Banker, associate broker. I'm sorry. Oh, I just want to say what I just heard I think that's unbelievable. 3 years ago, I tried to renew my license and had a real difficulty because I have I have a 5-digit number, and the system thought I was a qualifying broker, and I was not. Fortunately, somebody answered at the real estate commission. But now I'm gonna have to call Santa Fe when I run into that problem next year. Unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you very much for your comments. Let's move to old business. Apparently, we don't have old business on the agenda. We're going to now move to new business. Budget report. We have boards and commissions Director Melissa Salazar in attendance to provide the Real Estate Commission budget. Ms. Salazar. Could you lean forward a little bit?
I'm here to give you a high-level overview of the budget for the Real Estate Commission. The details I'll be sharing today come from RLD's Administrative Services. The Commission's budget for this fiscal year is $1,167,700, which is allocated as follows. To account 200, $736,400 for personnel expenses. Account 300, $15,500 for contractual and professional services. Account 400, $155,400 for various other expenses, including travel, court reporter, printing, ISTEs, etc. Account 500 is allocated $260,400. This is a flow-through account that's designated for administrative expenses. So far in the current fiscal year, the Commission has received $417,559 in revenue. Currently, I do not have the actual expenditures or available budget details for account 200, so I do not have a current available number for that. For account 300, $10,495.42 has been spent on software licenses and IT services, leaving an available balance of $5,004.58 as of November 17th. The following expenditures have been made from account 400. $1,139 for member meals and lodging, $884.40 for member mileage and fares, $99.30 for transportation, fuel and oil, $50 for transportation parts and supplies, $166.12 for IT hardware and software agreements, $2,184.16 for IT supply inventory, $200 for office supplies, $2,161.91 for the Department of Information and Technology HCM assessment fees, $178.51 for printing and photo services, $10,360.50 for building rental, $269.04 for equipment rental, $4,260.66 for subscriptions, dues, and license fees, $124.80 for miscellaneous expenses. In total, $22,078.50 have been expended from account 400, leaving an available balance as of November 17th of $133,321.50. Currently, I do not see any expenses allocated to account 500 and assume that the budgeted amount of $260,400 remains available. However, I do need to confirm this with Administrative Services. It's important to note that the anticipated expenses totaling anticipated expenses totaling $8,497.75 are expected to be charged to account 300, while an additional $81,975.40 in expenses are projected to be drawn from account 400. Regarding the Real Estate Recovery Act, pursuant to Section 612922, the Commission is required to collect an annual fee not exceeding $10 from each real estate licensee before issuing the next license. An additional fee not excluding $10 must also be collected from each successful applicant for an original real estate license in addition to the original license fee. These fees are credited to the Real Estate Recovery Fund. which must be maintained at a minimum balance of 150,000. If on July 1st of any year, the fund balance exceeds 400,000, the surplus is transferred to the Real Estate Commission Fund. As of June 30th, 2024, the Real Estate Recovery Fund had a balance of $122,380.87. According to the report I received and reviewed from ASD, for this fiscal year, it showed that the fund has collected $1,500. Upon seeing this number, it prompted me to reach out to ASD and ask why the number was so low. It did not appear to be correct to me. I have been advised by ASD that they believe the funding code being used at the onset was incorrect, and therefore the collected funds most likely have been placed in the Real Estate Commission Fund. They are currently conducting an audit of Real Estate Commission funds to make sure they're allocated to the appropriate fund. As soon as I receive an update from ASD, I'll provide a corrected fund balance for both the general fund and the Real Estate Recovery Fund. Regarding the Real Estate Education and Training Fund, Section 61, 2919.1 establishes the fund, which is primarily supported by fees charged by the Commission for approving real estate education sponsors, courses and instructors. The money in this fund does not revert to any other fund at the end of the fiscal year. As of June 30th, the Real Estate Education and Training Fund had a balance of $136,424.29. So far in this current fiscal year, as of November 15th, the fund had generated $9,548.19. For the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, the Real Estate Commission generated a revenue of $1,124,860.78. As of June 30th, 2024, the Commission concluded fiscal year 24 with a fund balance of $1,447,885. I'd like to remind you that the funds in the Real Estate General Fund could be at risk of being swept if the state experiences an economic downturn and needs to allocate those funds for other purposes. While this is not currently anticipated to happen in the near future, it's something that we should be mindful of a potential risk of those funds. As I mentioned earlier, this is a high-level overview. If you have any questions, feel free to send them to me. I'll be happy to follow up and provide updates.
And thank you, Ms. Salazar, and I'm assuming we'll get a copy of all this. Yeah, if you could just get us those numbers after the meeting, just a, PDF of everything. Yeah. Thank you. So it does sound like there's been some things, if I may, that we've been wanting to have in order to make our commission work properly. There are some things that I think would be beneficial. One of the things is to have office inspections done. It sounds like there might be some funds available to re-implement office inspections to be in compliance with statutes, keeping rules in line and everybody following instructions. Without office inspections, we're not going to know sometimes if things aren't followed. From the basic of advertising violations to trust account violations that can usually be handled with office inspections. I know in 2018, there was an implementation of office inspections targeted just for the purpose of looking at trust accounts, property management issues. And I even found a fabulous office inspections checklist, which I'll be glad to distribute. It's very helpful. If somebody doesn't know how to do an office inspection, an untrained person could go in there and do it. It's a great checklist. The other thing would be instead of, as you know, the commissioners are tasked with the opportunity to be hearing officers, which is it's not to be taken lightly, and there's a lot of responsibility in that. And I would like to see the implementation of an outside judge who's hired just for that purpose to function as a hearing officer, including doing the reports and the actual hearing and everything that is entailed in that. It is something that's available, and I understand other boards implement that for their hearings. Obviously, it sounds like there might be some money in there for staffing as well. So I would like to see going forward a regular report of the budget. This commission hasn't seen a budget since we sat 3 years ago. So I'm pleased that we do have an understanding now about where's the. Have any questions regarding the budget?
Yeah, I'm curious about that audit. It's a pretty big deal to me to have that money applied incorrectly. What's the time frame we're expecting to know on that? Have they started the audit? Is this something that they're going to take seriously?
I don't think anybody can hear you unless you're back in front of the mic. Can we take the mic over to her? Thank you, Mr. Latham.
But the problem is that when NM Plus was that the funding code was not put in there correctly.
That's my understanding. That is correct. The money was allocated to just the general fund for real estate commission rather than appropriated specifically for the recovery fund. So the audit, I believe, has already started to take place. That's how they found the error. It shouldn't take much time to get an answer to be able to separate the money that was just placed generally versus specifically for the recovery fund.
Thank you.
I cannot speak for what the time frame will be for ASD to provide that audit, but I did speak with them this morning. They did say that they are working on it. So as soon as I have those numbers from them, I certainly will provide an update.
Thank you.
Yes,
To follow up on that audit question, was that just a general annual audit or was that a special audit because there was a discrepancy?
Commissioner Vasquez, no, this is the result of, I'm not sure if it was caught on the annual audit that we receive every year on our agency, or if it was caught now that we've been looking at our new budget for this year and the expenses that have been coming out of it. But either way, we did catch it and I did flag it and I have asked them to look at it.
any questions? Yes,
I just wanted to clarify also of the funds that are sitting in the general fund, the large amount of money, because you're talking about using those funds for other reasons. I believe that of those funds, we can only borrow 5% from those amounts to enhance our budget to be used for other purposes. So I believe that if we are talking about wanting to supplement our budget or making changes for other events or things that you are going to want to as a commission, we need to talk about those things prior to that budget going into effect in the following years. So right now we've already submitted our budget for FY26. So if we're going to want to make changes, we're going to need to do that next year to go into effect for 27.
good. Thank you. Which is why we need that all in writing, that what you just went through, because none of us write that fast.
So I was gonna say, it's gonna be hard to request any changes when we don't know what we have. Hopefully going forward, this will help.
Yeah.
I just want to add that while I am willing to provide as many updates as I can, please keep in mind that I do have to do this for 28 other commissions. And to be able to go through and provide this synopsis for every meeting would be nearly impossible. I might be able to do it twice a year. I can shoot for 3, but it would be really hard to do it more than that, considering the number of boards that I need to attend to.
Absolutely. No, I think a couple times a year for me is sufficient. But we've never had it. So a couple times a year would be amazing.
Madam Chair, one more question,
Yes.
just on the issue of the budget recommendations. What was the executive recommendation similar to what we had for the current year, or?
Commissioner, Buckett, yes, that is correct. It is the same budget from, last year.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for that report. We look forward to seeing the number. Is Kevin Graham here?
Madam Chair, I'm sorry, the office did not reach out to Kevin Graham to check his schedule, to check his availability to be here today. It was not on his calendar. I believe that matter has to be tabled.
Okay. You have your next agenda item, Commissioner Smith.
Yes, thank you. So investigator hiring, I asked this to be placed on the agenda. I'd like an update on where we're at. Obviously, I did hear that we hired one new investigator. I think that it's very important that we have investigators with real estate experience. We lost a ton of experience a couple months ago. It's a big hit for the commission, for the industry. Lynn Carter, Perry, they were amazing. So I do think that maybe when we had Lynn Carter, we could have hired somebody without experience. And it would have been okay because they would have had his experience. But now we have none. So I think it's important that we have a say as commissioners in the hiring process. Kevin was going to talk about the administratively attached, and it kind of goes into this. According to statute, we should have a say in hiring. That's straight from statute. So I would like to know where we at. I do not want to be included with every other board for our investigators. They need to be solely for the real estate commission. There is too many, and I believe President DeBlee Kilman talked about this at the last meeting. There's too many things with real estate that we can't, we have to have our own. We have to. There's no way around that, because like Ms. Salazar just said, she's doing it for so many different boards. It's hard. We are a big membership. We have a ton of people. We have to have our own investigators. So if I can get an update, how many are we looking to hire, and when will we be trying to reach out to people with real estate experience to do that hiring as well?
Commissioner Smith, Amanda Lewis here. I can give you an update regarding the hiring. As Ms. Roybal presented, we have Mr. Holahola here today. We have onboarded one new investigator, supervisor investigator. The second is expected to be here on the 23rd of November. The hiring, he did ask for an extension just to give his current employer proper notice for their departure, but that would essentially fill the 2 investigator positions that the Real Estate Commission had specific for them. Ms. Roybal, if you would like to add, I don't want to step on your toes, so if you would like to come and add, please do. Our compliance team is comprised of, I think there's 5 total investigators, to include inspectors as well, and how their assignments are working is established through the compliance that we have. So I know Mr. Chief General Counsel Graham was going to provide the update of administrative attachment, which is probably going to answer the majority of your questions. But regarding the status of the inspectors, we have interviewed and hired 2. One is onboarded and the other here on the 23rd.
And they will be exclusively for the real estate commission?
I do not believe they are exclusively for the Real Estate Commission. I don't want to misspeak, so if I'm incorrect, somebody please jump in and correct me, but I do think they are part of the compliance and investigation team as a whole for the boards and commissions.
Does the new hire have real estate experience?
I would have to go back and look specifically at the individual's application experience. It is not a requirement through the state personnel website that any individual filling the investigator position was specific. We do provide investigations and inspections for all of our boards, but essentially an incumbent isn't required to have specific criteria in that all 20.
I don't think I don't understand why it's a struggle with RLD to be on the same page with this. I know that there's a lot of, they want continuity, I understand, but this isn't something to take lightly. We're here to protect the public. And if we don't have investigators specifically for us with experience or with extensive training about what they're looking at, it's not protecting the public. This is a harm. So I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, we have to have investigators for our commission, period. And they need to be exclusively for us. And if you look at statute, that's, pull it up here, 1917, the administratively attached, and I wish Mr. Graham was here, because it says in here, unless otherwise provided by law, the agency, which is the commission, shall hire its own personnel in accordance with the Personnel Act. So we have a say. Statute says we have a say. And my say is that we have somebody specifically for the commission with real estate experience. It's important.
I couldn't agree more. I think there's a misunderstanding perhaps that all you have to do is read a rule and a statute and you've got the answer in a case. And anybody who's in real estate understands that there are nuances that nobody understands but real estate trained people. And I've said this in other meetings, and most of my clients are 10 times smarter than me because they're doctors and they're lawyers and they're scientists, and I don't know anything about their way of life, but they trust me to run their real estate transaction. And if you would ask them, and I've heard it done, I've been an expert witness a few times, and whenever I hear the real estate attorney explain the case to me, probably in about 3 sentences, I'm like, you're on the wrong track. This is what really happened, and I can answer that question. Sometimes we don't even get through the free 30-minute consultation. They usually explain their real estate experience in very simple terms. And it takes a real estate person trained and experienced in real estate nuances to know what to look for in an investigation, what questions to ask, what documents to ask for. And it goes beyond even contracts. It goes into tradition, especially misrepresentation, especially lack of reasonable care. There's all of our little trigger words. And you don't know what lack of reasonable care is unless you understand real estate. And so I think it's virtually impossible for a real estate untrained investigator to look at a case and know what to look for.
I'd just like to add that unlike our profession, in your profession, you're probably the closest thing you've ever had to the biggest thing in your life that you've ever purchased was your home. And you're relying on that person, you're relying on that realtor with their expertise to guide you through it and help you. And if you don't have that, then you're on your own, and good luck to you. But that's why we're here. We're here to help protect you and help you through that entire process so that you can live happily ever after, not to have issues and complications and problems with that transaction. That's nothing good about that. And if you don't understand that, then how can you investigate that? Thank you.
I have something to add. The other thing is, you know, we are self-employed. We're self-employed, and us taking our CE classes and educating ourselves up to the standards that we need to have. The people that are supervising, overseeing us, licensing, also need to have that standard as well. So it is really hard to know that somebody's going to be regulating you that doesn't have any type of experience, that can take, or, you know, take your license away and can virtually, you know, affect your professional capacities. So that's another factor. You know, having somebody in the realm and understanding the background is really, really important, because we would hope that the people regulating us will also do the same thing. You know, that's the support we hope that we can have.
Follow-up to that. So, General Counsel Graham has had this discussion with myself and with, Madam Chair Kilman. And, I think that he did, when we had that conversation, explain to her that in the perfect world, if money was unlimited and we had an expert for every single board, it would be wonderful. No disrespect to the Real Estate Commission, but we also do have health boards that we oversee that are just as complicated, have just as complicated cases as you do. The problem isn't that, the problem is that it would be nearly impossible for regulation and licensing to have a professional expert investigator for every single board. And I think that, in the perfect world, while we would like to have that, I don't think that it's a possibility. And when, Legal Counsel Graham comes and explains administratively attached to you all, we might be able to get a better grip on it. Now, we are willing, and we have talked about this before, you guys have made recommendations of where we can send our investigators to obtain training, and we are willing to do that. Another recommendation was made this morning that perhaps he receives training here, that both of them do. But it is very important that while we are trying to figure this out, that you guys understand how RLD operates, and that we're not trying to be disrespectful to your board or your profession, but we do oversee 28 other ones that are just as important as yours. Okay, so I don't want to, I'm not trying to say that, you know, we can say over and over again, we need our own investigator. We have to have our own investigator. Everybody would like to have their own investigator, but it's not going to happen. We don't have the funding to do it. What we have to do is take the people that we have, train them the best that we can, and with the assistance from you all and from your complaint committee, help our investigator to learn what they need to know. And we keep saying that, you know, we had a big loss with, the people that left, the previous investigators. Well, you know, I feel really bad that they're gone, but they retired and I don't have control over that. So we need to stop looking at what's in the past and look to the forward and how we are going to move forward to take care of the issues that we have at hand.
I think if we have a seat, one person has a seat, as part of the hiring process, it would help a lot. Because then we could help make sure that, look, I know you say it's impossible, but it's not. It's not impossible to have somebody who has real estate experience. I'm not asking for somebody who has 40 years. I'm not asking for Mr. McCoy to be the investigator, but some experience is important. And the training, sure, that's okay. That may help. But if they're not solely for the commission, it's still not great. We have to have our own investigators.
Here-
We've had them for how long? Why is it different now?
I have a question. Was there a real estate broker that applied for this investigator positions that just were filled?
A single person from the real estate committee applied.
Was there
it
any
advertised,
advertisement?
to any realtors?
It was advertised on the SPO website, which is who we use to hire.
Just one point to add, the way the job advertisement was selected is specific for investigations, and both positions have been filled by applicants that have over 20 years of investigative experience. They are not coming in untrained and unfamiliar. What you all are suggesting is they need real estate specific knowledge. And that's what we are happy to hear. GAR offers real estate specific to train, but the incumbents who are coming in have over 20 years of investigative experience, and that should appease the mind that someone is not coming with no training. It is specific, and we can add during the onboard the real estate specific along with any other boards that they may be investigating, to include accountancy or anything of the other boards. Absolutely, but they are trained investigators.
With all due respect, in fact, one of my one-stop numbers last week was to call the Private Investigators Board to find out how to become a private investigator. And I got a very poor answer, but that can be another discussion. So I truly understand that being an investigator is a trained position in itself. It's been a long time that we've had trained real estate specific investigators. It's not a new thing. I was told in a meeting that we were lucky to have that. I think it was by design. So I think if an effort had been made to really seek out real estate people who might be interested in a state job, a different facet of their training for years and years, and have, there's a lot of us that get tired of the sales portion of it, but we're not tired of the business itself. And I think if an effort had been made to reach out to the real estate community to say, hey, this is going to be available, you could have found, especially with everything that's been going on in real estate lately, yeah, I want to get out of sales, but I'd love to be an investigator and put my knowledge to work. That being said, you can't do anything about it now. It feels like to me, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it feels like we're trying to be pushed back into the corner and be kind of fed the same line for all boards and commissions. There's a lot of boards that, I'm sorry, they're there, but they don't have the importance in society, to me, as real estate does. Real estate is the foundation of this country. It's a pretty unique idea that we can actually own private property. So I think the least that the state can do is recognize the importance of real estate. And I don't get the feeling that they do respect the importance of real estate and protecting the public in a real estate transaction. I'm sure everyone remembers, and there's still an RLD video, which I did watch the other day, which was fantastic production of the event of the middle 2000, approximately 2011, where we had the big Ponzi scheme involved with a real estate licensee and everything that brought with it. And I think the Real Estate Commission, along with the Securities Division of RLD, helped to put that person away. That's how important real estate is. There were, I don't even know how many people were swindled by that person. A lot of their retirements were lost. I just don't think real estate can be taken lightly. And I respect investigators. I'd love to be one myself. But I don't think it should be left in the hands of somebody who's also looking at body art and decorating and accounting. Don't ever ask me to look at a forensic accounting sheet. I couldn't do it. Have anything to say about investigators?
Chair, I'm sorry, I'm still learning. I just have a couple questions here.
Please.
Can anyone tell me how many investigators or FTEs do you have statewide? Specifically boards and commissions, yes. How many, what's your vacancy rate right now? So it's under 10%. And specifically for this one, we're pretty close.
I'm not gonna say specific. Talking about compliance, that's different. Don't have a designated person.
For sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board? No. Okay. Let's look at the 2025 meeting dates. The commission needs to determine their meeting schedule for next year. It is usual practice to hold the meetings on the third Monday of the month of January, March, May, July, September, and November. Gonna have to make some adjustments here. This would put our 2025 meeting schedule, it says on this agenda, January 20th, but that is a holiday. So we could do January 13th, March 17th, May 19th, July 21st, September 15th, and November 17th.
I think that's good.
Anybody we're all in agreement. So we're going to change the January 20th date to January 13, 2025. Position approved course list webpage links. I've asked this topic to be placed as an agenda item to discuss how we can improve our webpage links to the approved course list. The current list is provided in the Commissioner's Board packet, and I've asked EAC Scott Latham to explain the current listing.
The list that's currently available on the website, I compiled from a list that was left to me by my predecessor and tried to make it a little easier to read. Everything was lumped together. I sorted it to where you've got your permanent courses, your permanent property management courses, and then your one-time courses, trying, especially with the one-time, to be able to filter those out so that 2 years down the road, you're not still looking at those. The problem is that there's just so many approved courses, and I've been able to filter about 150 out that I know aren't being taught now because there's no instructors teaching them. The rest of them, there's an instructor that's teaching, has been approved to teach that course, but they may not necessarily be teaching that course. I feel the best thing to do is to get an accurate website for all of our sponsors and allow that to be on the website for people to click to find out what the available class is. Because when you're looking at a list of 1,000+ classes, you may find that course that you like, but can't find anybody to teach it. So what we need to provide them is a way to find out what's out there and currently available with the sponsors.
That would be my perfect thing, is to have just a site to what could I take this week?
I've got my list together of websites. I'm just trying to be able to get a hold of people to confirm that I have their proper websites before I start posting everything onto the website. Then once I've got that completed, I will get with IT, figure out a place that we might be able to get that put where it's readily available and people can see it without having to search.
And you are submitting that, you're working with IT collaboratively?
I have not
and-
worked with IT yet. I'm trying to get everything put into
Okay.
place so that once we get to that point, it's a upload and let's go.
Okay, perfect. Notice of non-compliance case 2211-03-086 and 23-04-02-025. I believe this item is on the agenda in open session in the event the respondent is present and would like to speak to the commission. Not present. Okay. It is now time for the commission to move to closed session for the purpose of discussing the disciplinary matters listed on the agenda. All brokers attending for continuing education credit may log off. You will not receive credit for closed session portions. Secretary Henniger.
I move the Real Estate Commission enter closed session to discuss the items listed on the agenda as authorized by the Licensing and Administrative Adjudication exceptions of the Open Meeting Act, NMSA 10-15-1H, 1, 3, and 7, authorizing closed session for matters related to issuance, suspension, renewal, revocation of a license. Do I have a second?
Second.
Number 7 is also for pending litigation. With that amendment, yes.
Yes.
Let the record show the commission entered into closed session at 10:07 a.m. We are off the record. Mr. Bryant, please stop the recording. Thank you.